Okay, so this is going to be a very quick one, and I'm just going to run you through the basics of a few circle theorems. Now, this is not all of them. This is just the easiest of the circle theorems. So if you've got a circle and the centre marked on it, you need to be aware that is a radius. And if it goes from the edge to the centre and then to the other edge, that's a diameter. Okay, so be aware of that. Radius is that part, diameter is the whole thing. All right, so the first circle theorem. Let's say you've got a circle, there's the centre. If you've got a radius or a diameter, it doesn't matter. The important thing is that it's from the centre to the edge. If you've got a straight line that meets that on the edge, that is always going to meet at 90 degrees. Okay, this is a tangent. That's a radius, and they always meet at 90 degrees. So that's the first one. Always keep an eye out to see if that's around. Another one you need to look at is if you've got a circle, there's the centre. Now, that's a radius, that's a diameter. If you've got an angle coming off each end of the diameter, touching anywhere on the outside of the circle, so I'm going to say there. So from that end to there to there, then that is also 90 degrees. Okay, so that's any angle formed at the diameter is going to be 90 degrees. So if I was to say that one, from one end to that end, that is also going to be 90 degrees, okay, because it comes from each end of the diameter. The next rule is probably the most familiar. If you've got the centre, and let's say any 2 points on the outside edge, so I've got an angle coming from those 2 points. Let's say that this angle is, I don't know, 60 degrees. Then any angle that also comes from those 2 points anywhere on the outer edge of the circle, so that's the easiest one to visualize. This is going to be 30 degrees because the angle on the outside of the circle, on the circumference of the circle, is always half of what it is in the centre. It won't always look as obvious as that because the same rule can be applied if that's the centre and there's my angle at the centre. The angle might be formed over here. Okay, in which case you're still expected to spot that this angle is double of whatever that angle is. Because it comes from the same points, that's where it makes an angle at the centre. So let's say that is 50 degrees at the centre. This one would then be 25 degrees at the circumference. And finally, this one isn't to be mistaken for the one that looks like a bow. And I'm not going to put the centre on this because it doesn't matter. This looks like a bow, but it involves the centre. This doesn't because it's just any 2 points on the outside of a circle. And let's make an angle completely random there. Let's say I've drawn that angle, and let's say that this angle is 40 degrees. Any other angle up here coming from these 2 points, let's say from there to there and from there to there, that's also going to be 40 degrees. It would be the same there and there. That would also be 40 degrees. Any angle coming off these 2 points is going to be 40 degrees. Okay, and what that will also form is, if I draw it down here with less lines, so there to there, and then from these points again, there to there, this forms what looks like the bow. And remember, the centre might be here. The centre is completely unrelated to this. These two angles would be equal. So let's say these would be 30 degrees. And then these two angles would be equal. So let's say that they're 50 degrees each. All right, so not involving the center. If the center is involved, it's probably the rule where the outside is half of the center. If the center isn't involved, then it's just the tips of the bows. That's not in focus. And the tips of the bows are going to be the same. Okay, and don't forget, just because there's a circle involved, don't forget basic rules like a triangle has 180 degrees. Any four-sided shape adds up to 360 degrees. Don't forget that opposite angles or vertically opposite angles are equal. So this one and this one would be equal, okay? And they'd add up to 180 degrees. Don't forget that if there's a straight line anywhere, that's also 180 degrees. Don't forget all your basic rules.